voice sounds a little weird. So my name is Jade. I'm actually originally from Lafitte. I wrote different things. It's okay, I'm not even going to go off the things I wrote. So I believe I'm 32 or 33, something like that, but I'm going to just give it straight. So my parents were long-term addicts, and my parents both died in 2020. They died a month apart. That was about the start of a transition in my life, and after both my parents passed a month apart, I started denying my family. I started turning my back on everything. I turned to the world and I was doing bad things. This one day came and I realized I needed to have a change in my life. And I was on Facebook and I seen something about a revival. And at the time I was living on the North Shore, and this revival, I never truly knew God before I truly just needed to be poured into, as I felt like I was an orphan in this world. I just felt so alone after my parents died. And I went to this revival by myself, a little fearful. And I remember hearing this speaker, and the first time I felt this spirit in me, the goosebumps, and I fell on my knees. I couldn't help but weep. I felt like I was understood. I just felt like, wow, I don't know what's happening. I feel these goosebumps. I can't explain it. And man, I was by myself at this event. I look over to my side, and there was a young guy weeping right next to me, and he looks at me and says, "Are you okay?" I said, "Hey, it's you." I said, "Yeah, I'm okay, I guess. Are you?" His name was Gary. He says, "I'm okay, I'm just dealing with some things, I guess, and this is my first time really seeking God as well." Well, from that moment on, Gary and I never went a day apart. We became engaged after being good friends. And we had a daughter together. She's now 2.5, almost 3. Her name's Ivy. So the duration of our engagement, we had God in the center of everything. So again, my parents, like I mentioned, they both were deceased. Gary's dad passed when he was 3. That's something that was always a weight on his shoulder, but his mom was like that anchor in his life. And she became then like another mom for me. And she became another anchor in my life. And she really helped lead us to God in the right paths and everything like that. And then suddenly she drops dead. And I was just so excited to have a mom and for my baby to have a grandparent. That was so hard. But what really happens, she passed April of 2020, what year are we in, 26? 2025. So Gary starts rebelling against God. He's cursing at God, he's angry and grief. He refused to pick up a Bible. God was no longer the center of our family or within him. 6 months later, so this is now October of this past year. So this is kind of fresh. I'm still new in this testimony, so that's why I'm a little bit shaky talking about it. Well, when he was depressed and he was refusing God, and refusing every source of God and getting back into scripture with me, I turned to a psychiatrist, anything to save him from himself. Well, this one day happened, and let me backtrack a little bit. We had firearms in the home. There was a little Glock handgun that I kept in my possession away from him. I carried it in my purse all the time, just away from the house and things like that. He had an AR-15. To my knowledge, it was dismantled and shoved away somewhere. This one day, it was October 12th in the afternoon. I hear him screaming and crying and cursing at God. I've never seen somebody like this before. His eyes were no longer blue, they were black. And he made specific remarks, and I knew me and my daughter's life was at risk. He says, "I need to go, and if I go, y'all need to come with me." And I just remember he He's browsing the room and he's looking for a gun. And to my knowledge, we had dismantled this AR-15. Well, apparently he put it back together at some point and I didn't know it. He grabs this AR-15, I don't know if you're familiar with that. They can hold up to 30 bullets and just pop, pop, pop consecutively. You don't have to keep reloading, nothing like that. And I remember fighting for this AR-15 and our daughter was just playing in the bed, so innocent. You know, this was just 6 months ago. And I just remember he ran away with the gun. I hear about 8 to 10 shots throughout the house. My daughter's screaming. I just remember not knowing if we were gonna live or not. I've never felt that in my life. It was a new level of survival mode I never witnessed. Being around addict parents, wow. I just remember grabbing some things, putting some things together for my daughter, trying to calm her. At this point, me and my daughter's in the back bedroom. I'm trying not to get too deep, y'all. It's just, I'm trying to just project because it's got a purpose. But I just remember I'm listening and I'm at this point in survival mode. I ain't got my Glock with me. I don't know where the Glock's at. The Glock's not in my bag with me like it usually is. So I remember taking a look down our hallway and I see him and he's just sitting there with his hands over his face and he's just wailing. And at this point I'm very hyper vigilant on my movement, my tone, and I just let him be for a minute. And she's calm, so she's not crying. And I'm just holding her to my chest with a bag packed on my shoulder. The phone and the car keys, everything's on me. I'm ready to go out the door. And I just remember while he's wailing in his arms, I see three magazines all loaded up, 30 bullets, 30 bullets, 30 bullets, lined up on a kitchen counter. He wasn't looking, so I slid them in my bag. And I just remember tried to talk to him and console him. He was screaming, cursing at me. He was the most gentle person. This was not him. I looked at him and I could tell he was possessed. It was the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. This was somebody I loved, but this wasn't him. And I just remember he gave this embrace to our daughter. He starts wailing and crying. And he made that same remark as he said, if I go, y'all need to come with me. And I just remember he looked into my bag, and he was an old-fashioned guy. He's like, I ain't never touching or looking into a woman's bag. So why was he looking into my bag? Because he knew that Glock was always there by the grace of God. That Glock was not in that bag, and I don't know why. I still don't know to this day why that Glock was not in that bag when it stayed in there for 6 months straight. If it was in there, he would have killed us at gunpoint range. And it wasn't in that bag, and I still can't explain it why it wasn't in that bag. I've had dreams about this. So the gun wasn't there, so he gets up, I grab my daughter from him, and he flees to a back room where he had threw the AR-15, and that's when me and my daughter ran up the front door. We heard one shot, and we heard the thump. And I just kept moving. I threw my daughter in a passenger seat, called 911, drove up the road, and I told him what happened. I said, look, I would assume he's armed and dangerous. I don't know if he's still shooting around a plane or if he actually offed himself. I don't know, but I heard the thump, and it was one shot. They show up and they confirmed he did commit suicide in our home. So at this point, it was a hot mess that night. But just to fast forward through that, I'm so sorry I had to get detailed. I had some family that came scoop us up, and from there I just had to restart my life. Came back to good old Lafitte. I haven't lived here in about 12, 15 years. So here I am, no place to live, no job. I got this 2.5-year-old. I don't know what I'm gonna do. He didn't have life insurance. I created a GoFundMe, and by God's grace, I was able to receive these funds and so much outreach from the community. I was able to get him taken care of, the memorial, so he could be at rest. I then had to deal with his siblings breaking into our home and stealing our items while he was even at the coroner's office still. It was just really, I can't even put into words the type of agony I was in. And hearing my daughter cry every night for months for her daddy. I just can't put into words. I just would weep and just beg for God. I surrender everything to you. because I realized at that point there was something supernatural that saved us from not being taken over. And man, I just remember, oh my God, all these opportunities just poured into us. We first was introduced to the Lightown family. And that's the first time I felt like I had another family I could connect with in God. We started attending Bible studies, and Ivy just took to this family. I mean, I can't even explain it. She used to be nonverbal, now she's speaking. She's giving affection. Before, she was a very standoffish child. They thought she was autistic, things like that. A job fell into my lap, a house fell into my lap. Everything is just, it's like a whole new beginning now. And the thing I gotta say is, I've been in scripture every day, and it's changed my life so much. You know, I had to go through the waves of asking God, reveal to me what I need to do to be closer to you, so that I can be a deserving child. Don't abandon me, because I felt so abandoned when my parents died. Please don't leave me, don't hurt me, don't do anything, just reveal to me what I need to do to be a deserving child. I'm telling you, there's a couple of verses that really captured my heart and changed my life. I'd like to share them. This one, I refer to it as spirit of adoption. It's Romans 8:15. For you did not receive the spirit of bondage again to fear, but you received the spirit of adoption, by whom we cry out, Abba, Father. Another one, Psalm 138:7. Though I walk in the midst of trouble, you will revive me. You will stretch out your hand against the wrath of my enemies, and your right hand will save me. Whew. All right, the next section of my journey with God and this new relationship I have with Him, I had to learn how to forgive. And when I read this in Luke 23, talks about when Jesus was crucified. It's Luke 23:33 through 34. And when they had come to the place called Calvary, where they crucified Him and the criminals on one of the right hand and other on the left, then Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. And you know, there's a lot of things that it was mentioned earlier about why we blame God, or why do we have these situations that we're put in, but there's a purpose of why there's testimony. And the thing that I've learned is testimony is a spirit of prophecy. Okay, Revelations 19:10. Worship God, for the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. And all I could say is all of the trials and errors and things I've experienced, there's no other explaining beyond measure of why I'm even still here. And I just thank God for giving me a new life and truly changing everything compared to where it could have been. And I have one last thing that a friend had shared to me earlier. Where she's at? You. Yes. She shared with me Galatians 2:20. First time I ever read this. I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. The life I now live in the body, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave Himself for me. And I'm forever grateful. And thank y'all for letting me share. This was not easy.